Welcome everyone to another edition of ICTV Headlines. Alongside Rob Harrington, I am your host, Dijana Kunovac. The 2014 Carolina basketball signees will be here in just a few short months, so that means it's on to the 2015 class. And the question is, what kind of players is Carolina looking to sign for 2015? So let's dive right into it, Rob, and what their biggest needs are for that class.
So far, it looks like they are very intent to get a wing player, probably who can slide between the 2 and 3 positions. They had wanted a combo guard, and they still may take one, but I think more than anything, that comes down to a specific player, and that's PJ Dozier, who at one time projected as a combo guard, who now looks like a wing. I think the bottom line is they want some insurance in case one or both of Theo Pinson or Justin Jackson goes pro after his sophomore year. They also clearly had prioritized big men. They would like to have an interior scorer. I feel like we've said that 4 or 5 classes in a row. And Kennedy Meeks, they sort of have one, I think, but they would like to get, I think, a taller, more athletic one who fits the classical Carolina physical profile. Now, in addition to that, I think they'll explore taking maybe a combo forward or something like that. But this is probably going to be a more modest, smaller class than they took last year. I think just based on the fact that they have very pressing needs for 2016 and the scholarship situation is uncertain because no one knows yet what Marcus Page or Bryce Johnson may do after next year.
Starting off with Brandon Ingram, who I feel basically lives in Chapel Hill because I have seen him at every single home game, it seems like. He recently had an in-home visit with Coach Williams in Kinston. A lot of guys from Kinston have come here, Reggie Bullock, Jerry Stackhouse. What is with this kid, and why hasn't he pulled the trigger yet, you think?
It's a good question. Normally when an in-state player gets an offer from Carolina, they don't wait 8 or 10 months to commit. In Ingram's case, I'm not even sure that Carolina leads. He took basically their best shot last summer. Roy Williams showed him tremendous interest at the various tournaments, especially late July out in Las Vegas. Since that time, as you mentioned, Ingram has been a regular visitor in Chapel Hill. But he recently, actually this week, got an offer from Duke. And there has been speculation, a pretty credible speculation, that he may like them the best. Now, they have not recruited him as hard, but a Duke-Carolina battle for a Kinston player is intriguing. It certainly is unusual. It doesn't spell doom if they miss him for whatever reason, but I think that has added a layer of complexity.
I've only watched him a couple of times, but really quick, what kind of skills have you seen him develop over the past year or so that you've watched him?
I think mostly he's just gotten taller. I think at one time he was a pure wing forward. Now I think he may grow into a combo forward or even a power forward.
Let's move on to PJ Dozier, the guy that you mentioned first. He's the guard in the 2015 class, and what's going on with his recruitment as well as his skill set that he brings to the table?
Well, he's coming off a knee injury, so he missed his entire junior season. During that time, he grew from 6'4" to 6'6", and I think that is why I mentioned that he may now be a pure wing instead of a combo guard, because he's probably too tall to defend point guards. But he's a real skilled player. I think people may compare him to Marcus Ginyard. I think he could be a better version of that.
And recruiting-wise, I mean, is Carolina pursuing him hard? We're really not sure.
Oh, absolutely. I'd say that he and Ingram have emerged as the clear two that they've gained traction with. I think, if anything, they may lead for Dozier.
And now, the big men. Let's start off with Ivan Rabb. I don't believe that I've watched him, so I don't know too much about his skill set and what he brings to the table. He's a forward, correct?
A forward center.
Okay.
I think he's center size, but forward skill level. Probably the #1 player in the class overall.
Yeah. No big deal.
Right. And I think they're doing okay with him. I think under the circumstances, from California, he plays for an AAU program that Arizona owns. Okay. And just the fact that they've done so well in Arizona. So for that reason, I'm bearish on their chances on Rabb, even though I think they've done well and I think he likes them. We'll see how it goes.
You mentioned that he's a center with power forward skills. Could you elaborate on that and what kind of skills he brings to the table?
He's a defensive center. I'd say that he blocks a lot of shots, but he also has developed this face-up shooting game. I think down the road in the NBA he'll be a power forward. I think in college he could be either.
There are 2 other centers in that class that Carolina has taken some interest in, one of them being Diamond Stone. And I remember seeing him, I think it was at USA camp or NBA camp. I'm not one of the 2. They all start to run together. Recruitment-wise, how has Carolina been pursuing him?
Stone was sort of the initial top target for them in that class. He's a really difficult one to figure out because he doesn't speak about recruiting. His family won't speak about recruiting. His high school coach is forbidden to speak about recruiting. So you really don't know. I mean, for all I know, they could lead for Diamondstone and get a commitment next week. My sense is that because they have not gotten him to campus yet, I am not considering them a favorite until they do. I thought Marquette at one time was doing quite well. He's from Milwaukee, but Buzz Williams left for Virginia Tech, and that I think was the basis of the appeal, was Buzz Williams in Milwaukee. So I think it's completely a blank slate with him.
Oh, well then. Skill-wise, what kind of center do you feel like he is? Is he more of like a big guy? Is he more of a skilled guy?
He's a burly guy who's an interior scorer. I wouldn't say that he's a power player per se. He looks like one. He's skilled with a turnaround jump shot. Not super athletic, but a top 5 player for good reason.
And finally, Steven Zimmerman, one of the last active offers in that 2015 class. Recruitment-wise, what do you think is going on there?
He's another one I think is likely to stay out west. He plays in Las Vegas. He's been a huge target for UNLV, as you would expect, but also some of the other Pac-12 schools. Carolina's trying with him. I think they probably have a better shot with Rabb than they do Zimmerman, but he's another top 5, top 10 player, very mobile. He's the skinnier big guy as opposed to a Stone or a Rabb.
I was going to say, comparing skill-wise to Stone and Rabb, would you say he's more of a forward than a center, or? Again,
size-wise, he's probably 6'11", 7 feet. He almost has to be a center, but in terms of style, he's definitely a forward.
So this upcoming weekend actually is the first live period and the only one until July, is that correct? So guys are spread out. Dallas, Sacramento, Kansas City, you even mentioned Pittsburgh. How important is this period for not only the coaches, but for you guys to evaluate as well?
It's hugely critical. It's more important for the coaches than us because we'll be out at any number of events because we don't have those restrictions. In previous years, coaches have been able to get out twice in April. This year only once because of Easter and the way the calendar fell. So they have one open weekend, which makes it that much more difficult for them to allot their time. Now, having said that, Carolina has targets all over the country in 5 or 6 different locations. That includes not only the 2015s that we're discussing here, but 2016s such as Harry Giles and 7th Woods we've talked a lot about. So they will have some really tough choices to make. When they come out of this weekend, we'll have a much better sense of who's really the top priority. Is it Rabb, or is it they try to close on Dozier and really make a final pitch to him and get that one done? I have no idea what they'll do, but we'll learn. They can't hide from this. We'll know where they are.
So it's basically you guys figuring out where the coaches are and seeing who the priority guys are.
Correct, because they have very little time to get out and see them against national competition until July. So they have to put their cards on the table, which Roy Williams loves to be really open about recruiting.
Oh, yes, so much. Always. He sure does. Well, I think that's it, Rob. Appreciate it. That's going to be it for this edition of ICTV Headlines. Thanks for joining us, everyone.